Good evening. I've got a lot to talk about today, and I really don't want this to turn into a rant, but I think it's going to end up heading that way. We live in some strange times. A lot of people have been sharing stories with me that even 6 months ago would probably be, yeah, I found some footprints or I saw something strange in the woods, but it seems to be happening more and more. People I've talked to in the past, people who have never had strange encounters before, people who don't believe in this, more and more things are happening. As we look at our crazy world that we live in today, uh, how polarized people are with politics, the suicide rates going up, especially in young men, how we can't have civil conversations anymore. And I look at the paranormal side of things, and I look at missing people, and I look at Bigfoot, and I look at aliens and dogmen, and I feel people are seeing more and more of these things. It's all over the news, like the Tic Tac UFO that was sighted. Um, so the weird thing about Justin Trudeau and his eyelashes falling off in the middle of his eyebrows falling off in the middle of an interview. It's just Donald Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un, Anthony Bourdain committing suicide. A lot of our great paranormal heroes are passing away. People are seeing strange lights in the woods more and more. I think people have always seen them, but I think that people now know what they are and now feel like they're talking to them. But I also feel that they're happening more. And even people like family members and people who are really hard-nosed tell me, hey, I heard something weird, or they're a little more aware of things. And I think people are seeing things that could be spirits of old and ideas of old and things that are coming forth. It's just, we live in really weird times right now, and I feel that the awareness is bringing it front and center, but I also feel like there's a lot more going on these days, and there seems to be a definite uptick in high strangeness in this world. So let me share a couple of odd stories with you. A friend of mine, we'll call him Ed, had a strange story while camping. I'm going to do a whole video on it, but he saw flashes of light. One that looked like a small white light, like rabbit-sized, whizzed by him in the middle of the night while he was camping in Palm Desert. Then he saw something a little more coyote-sized, and his son saw it too. And they're pretty no-nonsense folks. I'm going to do a whole video about that. But Al, who was the young man who had the dogman encounter in Vermont, he had another encounter that he just confided in me, where he was out in the woods. He had a gun with him, and he saw a coyote go up, approach him, and look at him. And then it just kind of slinked off, and it just vanished right before his eyes, disappeared. And it really freaked him out. I could hear it in his voice and the way he was texting and typing, and it really shook him up. And after the dogman encounter and that, I won't be surprised if the guy ever goes back in the woods again, although he seems pretty tough. But I'm starting to hear more and more stories about that, where people hear strange things in the woods from no-nonsense people. And it's pretty fascinating to me that this seems to be more and more common these days. People are seeing things that they just can't explain. And we're not talking, weirdo paranormal people like me. We're talking normal people who live their lives and go about their business, and they encounter something strange and they've never encountered it before. And it's just very fascinating to me. I got to tell you, it's been rough. We lost John Bendernagel this year. He was one of my heroes. Got to meet him. He was such a kindly grandfather of the Bigfoot world. One of the legitimate, actual PhD scientists in this community. We also lost Art Bell, who I listened to years ago and was a huge fan of. George Norrie's good, but nobody had the inquisitiveness of Art Bell. Art Bell was just, he had a way with words. People could confide in him. And to be honest, on Coast to Coast, every now and then you'd have a few whack job or lunatic people on there. To be quite honest, there's some people I didn't really believe. But he had a lot of people, normal people, who saw too much, that either worked for the government, or normal people that had something happen to them, or people that were into the paranormal and maybe got too deep and they were able to confide with him. And he listened, and everybody with respect. I wouldn't have had his patience as much as I think I would be a great host for something like that. Art Bell really had a way with this stuff, and he was quite an incredible man, and he dedicated his life to this paranormal, and he was really the master of it. So it was quite a blow to me to hear that when he passed away this year. It was very, very sad for me. As you know, a couple days ago, we lost Anthony Bourdain. Now, I remember spending hours and hours watching his shows. I've read some of his books. I read Kitchen Confidential, which is absolutely awesome. Anthony Bourdain was super cool and a world traveler, and I didn't always agree with him politically. I know he had a lot of inner demons and drug problems in the past, and traveling around, and he had been married. He lived a pretty interesting life, and I think he had seen a lot. Maybe you would even argue that he'd seen too much in his life. But Anthony Bourdain, this is, I was stunned, but I wasn't shocked. I know because you could just see it in the man's eyes. He just had a certain type of sadness, like he had seen too much in his life. But there was a lot of joy in him, too. There was a lot of joy in his friends and traveling the world and seeing different communities and trying food. Food is like the universal truth and culture. Everybody has to sleep, everybody has to eat, and everybody wants love and happiness. And he really understood that, even if he didn't always happen in his life.
I'm not a huge conspiracy theory guy, but there are a lot of interesting things that I've been discovering about Anthony Bourdain. One thing that struck me is his mother came out today and said that he was the last person that she ever would have thought would do something like this. But then again, his friend, who is a chef who actually found him deceased, said that he had been in a weird mood the last few days and was very dark. Now, Anthony Bourdain had been working with Elon Musk on a lot of big projects. They had been meeting a lot. In fact, when they were filming in Paris, he was one of the people that he met with. One of the things that they were talking about was human trafficking. Now, Anthony Bourdain was really big into the Me Too movement and sexual harassment, and then he would take it a step further into prostitution and human trafficking and the sex trade, very dark stuff. And he was working with Elon Musk, pretty much one of the most powerful men in the world, about this stuff, and he was getting ready to come forward and blow things wide open. He had been very critical of Trump in the past, which just about everybody has been, but he was also starting to get very critical of Hillary too. And there's a lot of things that make me think that, it probably was a suicide, but it seemed very convenient that there was a lot of things he was getting ready to blow open and talk about, and he was getting very critical of things. And he wasn't just on one political side of the spectrum. He kind of was just out there to be against things that were wrong, and he wanted to try to right the rights, and more than just drink wine and eat food in exotic countries. So his suicide is a terrible thing. Suicide in general has been going up, especially in men. I think as a lot of things get pushed into society and we get pushed to make ourselves feel guilty for a lot of the things that we do, it's a huge problem.
So here's the missing 411 map of North America, just to give you guys a little more context, because I feel missing people and murders, and for the first time since the 80s, murders are up. People, school shootings, all the strange things, senseless acts, people feeling alienated and disenfranchised. Seems to be a very strong theme these days. And I think we need to accept these, understand what's going on, and I think we need to help people more. I think we need to listen to people more. It also seems that people are seeing things supernatural to me, because it's more in our subconscious. People are seeing more ghost, poltergeist activity, lights in the woods, aliens, Bigfoot, dogmen, strange lights, you name it. But I feel like there's also a certain component in my experience, and I'm not talking about cryptids particularly, but in the paranormal side, that when you talk about these things and you go looking for them, you tend to find them. And the more you talk about them, the more scared you get, and the more you hype yourself up, you tend to give more life to these things. And I think with cryptids like dogmen and some of the more sinister things, you tend to give them more power, like the supernatural side of it. And I think that there's a lot of negative energy in the world right now, and I don't know if that's what's feeding all this stuff. I know that's kind of out there, but it's a strange world we're living in. I want everybody out there to stay safe, love your family, love yourself, have a good time, talk to people. People may be having it worse than you. People may be having it better than you. Focus on improving yourself, and when you've got yourself improved, focus on helping others. And everybody, take care of yourselves. Stay safe in the woods. Strange times we're living in. And thank you very much. I know this is a little different video than we usually do, but there's a lot more I wanted to talk about than this. I just feel strange talking about this stuff on this YouTube channel. I feel like this is all pointing to something bigger. I'm not sure what it's all pointing to. There's so much little pieces here. Somebody smarter than me, somebody better than me can point it out. So please just treat each other with kindness and understand we're all in this world together, even if we disagree. So thank you very much, and stay safe in the woods, folks.